If he hadn't had his secret weapon, there was no doubt he would have been killed. Just thinking about it gave him chills.
Ugh. Write the items. Were these items really worth all that Jinwoo had been through?
After catching his breath, Jinwoo reached out to Cerberus. A message popped up. You found an item called Warden's Collar. Would you like to acquire it? You have discovered item Castle Door Key. Would you like to acquire it? You have discovered item Cerberus's Fangs. Would you like to acquire it? Acquire all. The steel collar that was around Cerberus's neck, a gray key, and 3 fangs appeared on the ground. Item Warden's Collar Acquisition Difficulty. Akadori Collar Agility 20. Perception 20. Item Castle Door Key. Acquisition Difficulty A category. Key. This key unlocks the door to the demon's castle. You can get this item only by defeating the gatekeeper. Item Cerberus's Fangs Acquisition Difficulty. None category Miscellaneous. Ooh. Jinwoo's eyes lit up. The collar will increase agility and perception by 20 points. The collar was an amazing item. The acquisition difficulty was a rank. This was the most powerful item Jinwoo had gotten so far. Since killing the dog wasn't easy, it made sense that getting this collar wouldn't be simple either. Jinwoo hesitated to put on the collar. It was a metal dog collar with spikes. He thought about whether to wear it and decided to at least try it on. When he lifted it to his neck, a message appeared. Ping. A question popped up asking if he wanted to put on something called the Warden's Collar. After thinking about it some more, Jinwoo said sure in a flat tone. The necklace slowly disappeared. He heard a voice say, "You have put on the Warden's Collar." Jinwoo quickly checked his stats. Strength 60, Stamina 39, Agility. Astit. Intelligence 37, Perception 67, no. Ability points left. Physical damage reduced by 20%. Whoa, his agility and perception had both gone up by 20 points. Jinwoo used a power-up that made something invisible when he wore it. He felt better knowing he wouldn't have to walk around with a dog collar visible on him. Next, Jinwoo checked the shop for Cerberus's Fangs. These were listed as miscellaneous items, and sold for 15,000 gold. Each. Since he had 3 fangs, he earned 45,000 gold. His new balance was 5062 gold. Why were these items worth so much? It showed how hard the dungeon was to complete. This meant that the level of Demon's Castle was very high, but this wasn't bad news for him. He made 4 times more money from killing one monster here, compared to Hapjeong Station, where he spent all day. If he kept saving gold at this rate, it wouldn't take long before he could buy some of the pricier items in the shop. If I can clear this dungeon, Jinwoo looked up at the flaming tower. Fepdu-woo. The top part was hidden in fog. He had no idea what was inside, until he stepped through the entrance. He shook his head. Not yet. He had barely defeated the gatekeeper using a special item from his mission, and a power boost from his title. He had no idea how many dangers were waiting on the other side of the door. He would step back for today. But one thing was clear. The castle door key was exactly what he wanted. It was an amazing mystery box. It offered everything he needed to level up, get items and collect gold. When the time was right, he would get them all. But not today. He felt a little let down, but he put the gray key in his pocket. I'll be back. He would return soon, no doubt about it. Jinwoo walked away with a smile on his face. Few calm days went by. Jinho called Jinwoo every day to tell him how things were going. He had called exactly 3 times since their last meeting. "Boss, it's me, Jinho. Get to the point?" "Yes, sir." It seemed like Jinho had found people to join without any trouble. He kept asking Mr. Jin to wait a little longer, because the team was almost ready. "I guess he's worried. I might leave him." But Mr. Jin couldn't just sit around and do nothing. So he checked the Hunter's website today too. He kept looking for strike squads, but none wanted someone with his ranking. He'd gotten lucky that first day. Dansuk had a hidden reason for helping Jinwoo join a strike squad for the first time. Because of what he did, Jinwoo could earn money, gain experience, and learn a new skill. Should Jinwoo be grateful to him? Jinwoo snickered. At this point, he didn't care if he met more scam hunters who acted like lizards. He couldn't find a freelance job. The association wasn't calling him, and there were no more instance dungeon keys. All he was doing now was passing the time. His stomach growled. Is it already time to eat? Jinwoo stopped his online search and went to the kitchen to fill his empty stomach. The fridge was empty. He'd been so busy with everything that had happened in the past few days that he'd forgotten to go grocery shopping. He should probably take care of that today. Jinwoo yawned as he closed the fridge door. His apartment was near a big supermarket. He wore comfortable clothes and walked out the door. The supermarket was only about 10 minutes away. He quickly got to the store. When he walked in, he looked around everywhere. It wasn't very busy. He thought maybe it was because there weren't many sales happening then. He picked up a basket and walked slowly around the store. Jinwoo was now in charge of taking care of the house and going grocery shopping since his mom had been in the hospital. Not many items looked interesting today. He looked at a few things on the shelves, thinking about what to make for dinner. Suddenly he heard someone call out, "Sung, how are you doing?" Jinwoo turned to see who was speaking. It surprised him because he could tell there was a hunter nearby, even though hunters often shop there too. He hadn't expected this one to talk to him. Also, Jinwoo did not think the hunter would recognize him. "Mr. Song?" Jinwoo asked happily. Jinwoo with a mix of surprise and welcome in his eyes. "I heard you were okay, but I almost can't believe you're really here." Jinwoo also seemed very happy to see Jinwoo. Jinwoo felt shy when Jinwoo looked at him, so he scratched the back of his neck. "I wish I had come to see you sooner," Jinwoo said, "but those people from the group wouldn't tell me anything, so I didn't know what happened." "What were they thinking? Did you know Miss Juhee really wants to talk to you too?" "She does. Yes, she came on a raid last week, hoping to see you even though she said she planned to quit being a hunter. Last week, according to Juhee, the raid organized by the association had happened the same day. Jinwoo joined Dongseok's squad. No wonder there hasn't been a peep from the association in the past few days. It wasn't that they hadn't called, he just hadn't been there to receive it. At that moment one of his questions was finally answered. Chul stared at Jinwoo in shock. Had Sung always been this tall? Especially now after losing that leg. His eyes moved down, and then they grew wide. "Your leg?" Jinwoo remained calm. "My leg was fine when I woke up." "I don't know how that happened." Chul understood. Since the first gate showed up 10 years ago, strange things had been happening. Hunters who were special beings with unique powers were one of them. It was said that an S-rank healer could fix someone's body, even if they were badly hurt, as long as they were still alive. Maybe a skilled healer had helped Jinwoo while he was asleep. If so, fixing Jinwoo's cut-off leg didn't seem so impossible anymore. "A young man like you shouldn't be hurt. I'm glad. I'm really glad." Chul sounded as happy as if it had been his own leg. That's when Jinwoo noticed something about Chul's left arm. The end of his shirt sleeve was flapping around as if empty. Chul laughed as he touched his left shoulder. "Don't worry about me. Injuries happen to hunters during raids. This is my first time getting hurt." He acted like it wasn't a big deal, but others didn't see it that way. "Oh no. Look, I feel so bad for him. It was probably a beast, right?" Middle-aged women and students whispered as they passed by, and saw Chul's empty sleeve. A man kept staring at Chul as if he found him very interesting. Jinwoo said, "Let's go somewhere else." There were too many people in the meat section. Chul nodded, because he felt uneasy with everyone staring. He still had things to talk about with Jinwoo. They walked toward a quieter area. Chul felt something was off as they walked. Sung's footsteps sound Jinwoo's footsteps seemed too light. Chul walked right beside Jinwoo, but it was hard to feel his presence. Why was that? It was strange. But he felt like he wouldn't even be able to lay a finger on Jinwoo if they fought each other right now. Even though he was C rank, and Jinwoo was E rank. What am I thinking? Chul shook his head. Chul felt something was off as they walked. Chul's footsteps seemed too light compared to Sung's. Chul walked right beside Jinwoo, but it was hard to feel his presence. Why was that strange feeling there? It was odd, but he felt like he wouldn't even be able to touch Jinwoo if they fought each other right now, even though he was C rank and Jinwoo was E rank. What am I thinking? Chul shook his head. He really needed to tell Jinwoo something. They stepped into a quiet area, and Jinwoo stopped as well. Chul turned to Jinwoo, and before Jinwoo could say anything, he bowed deeply to show his gratitude. "Thank you so much, Sung." It was surprising to see someone as old as Jinwoo's dad, bowing like that. Jinwoo tried to get Chul to lift his head, but he kept his eyes down as he spoke. 11 people died because of me, but at least 6 survived thanks to you. I feel the most responsible for what happened that day, so I'm thanking you for everyone. Every word Chul said was sincere. Jinwoo felt the sincerity in Mr. Song's words. He also felt a little awkward, but he didn't mind. He even felt a little proud. He didn't want Mr. Song to stay bowed for so long. "Mr. Song, it's okay. Jinwoo said gently. Please get up. As Jinwoo reached out to help Shuyo stand, the phone in Shuyo's jacket suddenly rang. He stepped aside and pulled his phone from his pocket. Hello? His face turned serious as he listened. I understand. I'll be right there. He hung up. It looks like I have to go now. He made it sound personal, but Jinwoo heard the call because of his sharp hearing. The Hunters Association had called asking for Chilla's help with a nearby gate that needed attention. Chuul kept this to himself, so Jinwoo wouldn't follow him. He didn't want Jinwoo getting hurt again since he had just left the hospital. Jinwoo asked him directly, was that the association? Chuul hesitated before answering. Did you hear everything? The association calls all the hunters nearby when they host a raid. If Chuul had gotten the call, Jinwoo's house must have received it too. Jinwoo had been waiting for this call to fight. I'm coming too. Chuul began to see Jinwoo in a new way. They arrived at the meeting spot. The police had blocked off the area because the gate had appeared near homes and a busy road. There were almost no people watching. Gates that the group started just a few days ago often caused problems. Even if you got really close, you wouldn't see any real fights because of the rules they had. Sometimes the police would come and tell troublemaking kids to leave. Clack, the taxi door closed. Jinwoo and Shuyo got out of a taxi. As they walked toward where other hunters were gathered, police stopped them. May I see your ID, please? Chuul took his wallet and showed his license. I'm Chuul Song, Shu rank, he said. This is my colleague Jinwoo Sung. The officer checked the photo on Chuul's license, handed it back and let them pass. Thank you, Chuul said politely. Please keep up the good work. The officer replied with a smile. Chuul nodded and continued walking. Jinwoo followed him. An employee from the association was waiting for them by the gate. She was a young woman with round glasses. When she saw them, she walked over. Hunter Chul Song, she said in surprise. And Hunter Jinwoo Sung, how did you two find out about this raid? Chul answered for Jinwoo. He was with me when you called. Oh, really? I thought Hunter Sung was avoiding my call again, she said with a smile. Jinwoo used to do that sometimes. There were times when he would turn off his phone after getting hurt in a dungeon, because he was scared to go back. The rules said if he ignored the group's calls 3 times he could be removed, so he would eventually return. He smiled sadly as he thought about the past. Other hunters are here already. Please go and talk with them. She gestured to where the other hunters were gathered. She said hunters. But only 2 others were there. Ever since that big event, many hunters had been killed or hurt. Some even stopped being hunters after getting injured. One of them was Juhee. Jinwoo looked around but he didn't see Juhee anywhere. As Jinwoo and Shilyu came near, the other 2 hunters looked away, seeming guilty. Jinwoo frowned at them, thinking they should feel bad. One was Kim Sang-shik, who had run away quickly from the dungeon to save himself. The other was the hunter who had pushed Jinwoo aside while escaping. Kim felt uneasy about facing Jinwoo. After an awkward silence he finally said, Sung. But Jinwoo gave him a cold stare, so Kim looked away. He stayed quiet, watched the group for a moment, then left without a word. He tilted his head, looking confused as he watched Jinwoo from afar. Is that really Jinwoo Sung? His eyes seemed fierce. This made him shiver, and get goosebumps on his arms. Jinwoo then stopped giving that angry look. Luckily Kim noticed things that Jinwoo didn't. He had seen Jinwoo once and decided to stay away. Jinwoo hoped Kim would keep staying away. Jinwoo stood next to Jinwoo and smiled when he saw someone. There she is, he said. Jinwoo turned to look where Chun was pointing. Before he could even turn around, someone soft bumped into him. Jinwoo, Joe, he asked, her voice shaking as she tried not to cry. Jinwoo stood there looking surprised. Are you okay? Are you hurt anywhere? She asked. Her eyes widened when she saw his leg. How did your leg get hurt? She said, staring back and forth between his face and his leg. Chiyu was just as surprised as she was, but her reaction was more clear. Right, my leg. That's Jinwoo was about to make up a story when someone called out. Both Jinwoo and Juhee turned toward the voice. A man was yelling at them from a distance. He was wearing a blue uniform. Jinwoo wondered if they were filming a movie nearby. Curious, Jinwoo kept watching. A man in a suit got out of the van's passenger side. The suited man scolded him. Shut up. The man in the uniform looked away, pretending he had done nothing wrong. But when the suited man turned toward the van again, the man in the uniform winked at Joe-hee. Jinwoo frowned. Then 2 more people stepped out of the van. Both were men too. Interestingly, all wore orange jail suits and had their hands cuffed. The man in the suit walked the 3 toward an employee who smiled and said, "You're finally here." He replied, "I'm sorry." There was traffic. A man in a suit began signing some papers she gave him. As he signed, she turned to speak to the group of hunters. She explained that these people on probation would be joining them on their mission today. The hunters were shocked. Kim stepped forward and asked, "Are you telling us to work alongside criminals? If a hunter has been convicted of a crime, they have a choice. They can serve their full sentence or reduce their time by working with the organization. Most choose to shorten their time and are called probationers." The employee from the group kept apologizing. "I'm really sorry, but this area doesn't have many hunters right now. The association has already said there aren't many options at the moment. You don't need to worry though, because someone from the surveillance team will go with you." Kim looked at the man in the suit suspiciously. "A member of the surveillance team too?"
Yes.
"The probationary prisoners are all SU-ranked and the hunter from the surveillance team is B-ranked, so you don't need to worry." Kim nodded. There was a belief that you'd need about 10 SU-ranked hunters to defeat 1 B-ranked hunter. There was no reason to turn down a B-rank hunter who would help them and watch over the prisoners. Jinwoo felt uneasy as he looked at the hunter from the surveillance team and the probationary prisoners. Something didn't feel right. He could sense hostility from them. Was this because of his high perception stat? Or was he just overthinking? Either way, Jinwoo felt a strange feeling of worry. He leaned in close to Joo-hee and whispered, "You shouldn't come on this raid." She looked up at him with a curious expression and asked, "What about you?" Jinwoo answered her question with one of his own. "Then I'll go too." She had a look that said she wouldn't let him go alone. Jinwoo knew how stubborn Joo-hee was once she made up her mind. He guessed it would be fine as long as they stayed together. Earlier he had beaten Dong-suk's group of 5 hunters by himself. Jinwoo nodded. "Okay then." A member of the security team stood before the hunters after finishing the necessary papers. "As you have already been told, I am Tae-sik Kang from the security team. I will watch them closely, so please do not worry about the prisoners." Tae-sik signaled for the prisoners to come over. They slowly walked over to him and held out their hands. He quickly unlocked their handcuffs with ease. "That was really uncomfortable. Why are they treating us like this?" The freed prisoners complained while rubbing their wrists. Tae-sik ignored them and turned to the hunters. "Who will lead the way?" Chizil, who had always been the leader, raised his hand halfway. Tae-sik nodded. "Understood." Chu walked through the gate first and the others followed one by one. "Shall we go?" Jinwoo also entered with Joo-hee. She carefully held onto his sleeve, probably because she was still upset about what happened before. Most of the magic beasts in this place were goblins. Goblins were considered the weakest among magical creatures. The dungeon wasn't very difficult. Jinwoo had always found it easy to deal with these creepy little creatures even before he had any special powers. He fought them carefully. Jinwoo and Joo-hee were amazed at how skilled Jinwoo was compared to what they had expected. Even though Jinwoo was holding back most of his strength, there was still a clear difference between him and the others. Joo-hee walked over to him. "Are you exercising?" I've been running every day." "Running?" She seemed unsure, but at least he wasn't lying. "But my experience hasn't gone up at all." Squeak. Cock. Jinwoo looked disappointed. Jinwoo kept hearing that the goblins were too weak. What was the point of this? The essence stones from the goblins were also very low quality. Jinwoo looked around. The C-rank prisoners were excited about their temporary freedom, and were fighting the small beasts with their weapons. Keek, squeak, keek. It was hard to tell who was making more noise, the beasts or the humans. "Looks like I don't need to work that hard here." He couldn't gain much experience or make a lot of money this way. Then he thought, if this is how it's gonna be, why stay in the association? Most of their jobs were just attacking D or E rank gates anyway. If he couldn't improve his skills through D or E level missions, there was no point in joining them. I would finally have enough money to cover my mom's medical expenses. He had the freedom to leave whenever he wanted. This is why having money was important. Jinwoo had more choices now. While he was thinking, his group went deeper into the dungeon. He looked up and saw 3 different paths in front of them. Isaac said to Chul, "Since this dungeon isn't as tough as we thought, maybe we should split up here." Chul agreed. Jinwoo closed his eyes and focused hard on his other senses. Which path leads to the boss? He hoped fighting the boss would give him some experience. Soon he could sense the energy of every living thing in the dungeon. He opened his eyes and told Chul which way they should go. "Mr. Song, let's go to the left one." "Sure." Jinwoo, Chul, and Juhee took the left path. Tezik and the prisoners took the right, and the last 2 hunters took the middle. Jinwoo's heart was racing with excitement. The boss is at the end of this tunnel. He couldn't say it was particularly strong, but the energy coming from the end of the corridor was unique, and different from that of the other goblins. He wanted to get to the boss as soon as possible, but goblins sprang out at them every few steps. Screech, squeal, squeal. There were about 10 this time.